Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, it's been quite a busy week for me this week with medical procedures and everything going on, but everything's turning out for the best, so that's one of the good things. And here we are with another conversation this week. Amy took over for me on Tuesday. Thank God, Amy. Very helpful. Hey, Julie. We are here with Jerry Roth, who started out as a screenwriter, now has three books out, and actually wrote about pro disc golf for the paper where he's at. So let's get started with what got you inspired into writing screenplays.
I come from a family where, every Friday was movie night. No matter what, you stop what you're doing, you made some popcorn, and you watched movies. That was our thing forever. I mean, every time growing up, I don't remember missing a week where we didn't do that. And that was where I kind of learned my love for storytelling, for writing. And those are the things that kind of spurred me on to wanting to create my own stories. So I thought the logical way of doing it was, before I decided I wanted to become an author, that wrote books, I thought it was a good way to kind of make the transition to doing a screenplay and making the movies that I wanted to see. So that's how it began.
Well, going with that, before we go into the books and the other stuff,
Sure.
have you ever thought about doing your own indie movie?
Oh my gosh. The funding of that seems so daunting, especially in today's economy. But I would love to make a film.
I'll be honest with you, a lot of the indie people go through Kickstarter.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have seen so many Kickstarters with indie films. So something to think about in the
Okay. Now
future.
you got me thinking. Thank you. I don't have enough things to do. Thank you very much. But yeah, I will try that. That's great.
You want my schedule?
Uh,
uh, so let's go into now, let's just say your books, because
yeah.
you're an award winning author.
Yeah.
Tell us, without giving away the stories, of course, but tell
Sure.
us about your books.
Well, in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I actually landed my first deal with Sunbury Press to make my first book called Bottom Feeders, which is kind of crazy because, a book come out, I'm excited, it's a horror book, and all of a sudden the pandemic shut everything down. I couldn't do any events, I couldn't sign books, so it was a weird little vacuum that I was in. The original, my first debut book, Bottom Feeders, is about a prison warden who he's the youngest ever in Ohio, and he gets the job as warden. And the very first day he gets the job, he opens up a drawer of his desk, and he finds a diary from the previous warden, and says that, I discovered the devil and I buried him underneath the prison into a cell. So that's kind of what spurred my idea about horror, but with a good catch.
Now, who wouldn't want to go dig that up? I mean, come on now.
Leave well enough alone. That's what I'm telling my characters.
Somebody's going to dig it up.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, being an award-winning author is quite a feat, but let's talk about that moment when you found out, because
Yeah.
a lot of people it doesn't sink in right away.
Right. Yeah. I guess a part of me always knew I was going to be an author from even a young age. But the moment that I actually, started selling a lot of books and, won an award, I was happy that, a dream had finally come true, that I was able to tell stories and excite readers with my words. I mean, that's kind of like a magical thing when you can just jot something down from your head and people will pay money to buy it and read it. It's kind of an amazing thing to me, just a humbling experience as a person in general.
Well, have you ever done it? Well, book signings or conventions where you go to conventions in the area or
Yeah, absolutely.
over?
Yep, absolutely. My second book came out, and I had the opportunity to start actually going out there and meeting people, doing events, and it's exciting because in a way you're famous but not famous as an author. You're never going to be a huge celebrity movie star, but that somebody would come out to your event and they would take their time to buy your book and get a signature from you. it's one of the best feelings that I can even imagine having.
Here's a question from Mish. What is
Sure.
something that you haven't done that you want to do?
Oh, see, now we're getting into it. Um, I always put interactive things in my book. I always hide little Easter eggs. And my last book, I put breadcrumbs that you could follow along with the main character. This new one, I actually put shadow words in there. So there's a secret story involved all the way throughout the book that you can kind of discover. Hold up against a mirror and turn upside down to discover. So I like the interactive thing. I want to connect with somebody. Like, you can just read my book, and that's fine, and I'm happy with that. But there are a certain kind of readers out there that I'm trying to connect with that want a little bit more and want something interactive. So, aside from the new movie idea that you gave me, I think, which I'm getting on as soon as I can here, as soon as I get off, I'm going to start working on that Kickstarter. I think I just want to keep surprising my readers, every book.
Now, one thing, because we've had a few sports things on the show, but we don't really talk sports on the show that much.
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit about pro disc golf, because that is just something that it's fascinating. I've gotten videos on it, I don't know how many times.
Right.
And it's just,
Yeah.
to me, fascinating, but it's also, I guess, energetic, exercising.
Absolutely. It's they always say this with every sport that's kind of niche, but it is the fastest growing sport in America, and over in other countries it's huge. It's bigger than almost any other sport they have. So it's kind of growing up. It started out with me just throwing a frisbee around, but I fell in love with the flight. And the further you can throw it, the more exciting it was to watch it just fly. I guess it's no different than possibly flying a plane. You're seeing something that shouldn't be flying in the air as long as it is, but it is. It's a beautiful thing. So my love of the sport, I got my boys into it, and I had the opportunity to write for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. I think it was in 2017, 18. And it was a great experience because, it's at the infancy of their tour. They're having a professional tour, and I got to write on, the weekly tournaments. And that was kind of a grind journalism. It was kind of one of those things where I learned by fire. So it was exciting. But one thing I learned about myself, during that time writing for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, is I have too much. Have too much of an author in me to do it, and I used a lot of hyperbole when I probably shouldn't have, because I had to put some drama into it. So I got notes from the director lots of times like, you don't need so much hyperbole. I'm like, what? It's exciting. How could I not? So that's kind of my key that says, I need to write some books.
Yeah, my grandfather was actually a journalist, and he said that he got hit a lot of times with writing too much, because they don't want too much. They want the little short articles.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. It was fun for me, and I have some great articles out there that I'm still proud of. But in the journalistic sense, I'll leave that to better people.
Yeah, I'm fixing to give you another idea here, but about writing disc golf horror type book here in the near future.
That's not a bad idea. During this time that I did that, I ran a disc golf website where I got to talk to the professional disc golfers and do articles about them, and I could be a little freer that way. But it's definitely something. Disc golf is always going to kind of be in my blood. It's a fun sport. It's a growing sport. But to me, it's always going to be a great love.
Now, a lot of people, when they hear disc golf, they think frisbee, but it's completely different.
Yeah, I mean, it's same mechanics, but they have designed them now with technology. They can make some of them go up to 600 feet. And it's hard to imagine how far that is until you actually see a pro do it. It's, to the point where you almost can't even see where your disc lands, and that's an incredible feat.
Wow. Now, another significant thing about you is actually where you live.
Right.
And I don't want to say where is in like what state, but
right.
The building.
Sure. Yeah, I had the privilege last year. I wanted a place where I'd have my own office, obviously some place where I can write and get away from not just my family, but the world.
Mhm.
And we came across a 1908 Catholic church in Ohio. So, and we immediately fell in love with it. It's over 4,000 square feet with vaulted ceilings and, you know, 2 kitchens. It's amazing. It's really incredible. I mean, it's just the fact that something, nearly 150 years is still strong and standing. It's a craftsmanship that doesn't even exist anymore.
Now, going into that deals with the historical building. So you must have certain rules that you can and can't do there. Like if you wanted to remodel.
Well, good thing about it is parts of Ohio is kind of like the old West. They don't have the rules of everywhere else, which is good and bad. And so, a lot of the rules of a classic house probably wouldn't even let you make it into a home. So luckily, the people who bought it before me, they converted it into a home, and I kind of get the benefits of that.
That completely different. So I can see that, but I do know, like after a certain amount of time, when those buildings become historical,
Yeah,
they won't let you touch them.
I agree. Yeah, once you get on a register, it's you're gonna have to take care of that a certain way.
So, do you have any other books coming out soon, or?
I have nothing coming out right now. I have books that I'm currently one that I've written and one that I'm in the middle of writing now. I have a story. I kind of wanted to do different genres, and I've dove into fantasy a bit, which is kind of a departure for me, young adult fantasy, and it's called "They Wear Your Skin." So the title alone kind of says, "Oh my goodness!" But I thought it was kind of a throwback to the movies of the 50s and 60s, where they would catch you with those titles kind of that kind of drew you in.
Another question for you. What's your favorite book to read?
I'm a sucker for anything horror or science fiction. Those kind of my bread and butter. I love, I grew up, reading Stephen King, so he's obviously a favorite. But I'm the kind of person that, if you give me a great story, I'm there every time. So
Well, let's start the big debate here. Star
sure.
Trek or Star Wars?
Oh man, can I guess what your favorite is first? I think
Guess
you're a
what my
Star
favorite?
Trek guy.
I started out with Star Trek, so
Okay,
yes.
yeah. I like Ender's Game too. I'm a Star Wars guy just because my parents in 1977, maybe 78, they got me the first action playset of Star Wars. I think it was the Death Star, which is a fragile little toy but I couldn't get enough of pretending. And maybe that was where my first stories ever came from, is pretending I was Luke Skywalker. So Star Wars was amazing to me.
Very nice. So, with all that being said,
Mhm.
I know Thanksgiving's coming up.
Right.
So, and then of course Christmas.
Sure.
So you're going to be doing all your holiday stuff. So, are you going to be doing more writing after the holidays, or are you going to actually try to do it in between? Or
Oh goodness. Yeah, I'm at the point now with this book release that I'm doing so many shows and interviews that it's kind of thrown me off my writing routine. But I always try to at least put, even if it's a few sentences a day, I'm going to always try to put something in there to kind of keep my work in progress going. But I work year round usually.
now, if somebody wanted to get a signed copy from you, where would they do that at?
Absolutely. I will sign anything. All three of my books are available on jerryrotauthor.com. And please feel free to get a book there and put your name down, and I'll send you a signed copy.
And can they follow you on Facebook or Instagram or?
Absolutely, I'm on all those places. You look Jerry Roth up on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, and visit my page. Yeah, absolutely.
And another question that I missed there while I was typing: did you read Z for Zechariah?
I actually did. Yeah, it was a great one.
There you go, Mish. Now, Mish, there's some more books for you to get. But I do want to thank you for coming on. And we'll definitely be sending some people your way for some of those books, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I'm actually curious to find out if somebody dug up that devil in that one cell myself.
Uh-oh. Thank you so much. It was great to be on your show. You're a great host, and I want to say hi to all your fans, and thank you a lot for having me.
Well, thank you for being on. And for everybody else, we will be on Saturday for the Con Hour at 11 a.m. That's a different time than usual. And we are going to be on with John Stoker, who's actually been in movies with John Candy, Rick Moranis.
Oh, wow.
And he's also done many other voices from Sailor Moon. And so
that's great.
Everybody look forward to seeing y'all on that show Saturday morning at 11. And until then,